But yep, it's time for the Phillies, and we have to give them their propers, getting almost all the way last year. It is funny though, by projections, this is an 86 and 76 win team. So tell me, Britt, why are the projections wrong? What are they missing about this Phillies team? Is it their grit?
Yeah, right. You can't measure that. Well, I think anyone who's watched the WBC knows, and I covered Trey Turner when he was in DC. The guy is better than people realize. I feel like you don't appreciate him till you watch him consistently, and you're like, God, this guy's really good, right? So he obviously one of their big acquisitions this winter.
That little guy hit those huge homers last night.
Yeah, he's just a very, very good player. He's a guy who's going to play hurt. He did play hurt. He broke multiple fingers and was still able to compete for the 19 team that won the World Series in DC. So I think he's underrated. I think the projections are, based off of what happens with Bryce Harper. So does he beat his timeline a little bit? That could have a huge effect on this team and, their wins. And then also, I think it's just tough to say all these guys who really turned it on at the exact right moment are going to do it again. As you mentioned, with the Mets. And just in general, there's a lot of luck involved. The Phillies were a team that were not very good during the regular season. At times, they were god-awful to watch, but they got hot at the right time. And there's just no real way to quantify that, I think they're going to be a good team again. Their owner goes out and spends money. They're going to be a team that hits the ball. They're still a formidable lineup. The big question is going to be Bryce Harper and how much can he contribute to this team and what is going to be kind of his limitations.
If he's a DH all year, that's meaningful for a team that's not amazing defensively,
That's a nice way to say that their defense is really efficient. I kept waiting last year in Philly for their defense to show up and have them lose a game.
And they did bobble some. No, they did bobble some stuff, but it never mattered.
Everything. No, it never mattered. They just outslugged teams, and this is how the Padres ended up losing to them. Is very few teams are going to win a slugging match against the Phillies. They're just not. So that's how this team is built. But this is what Dave Dombrowski does. This is a win now team again, and they're looking to capitalize off of all that momentum from last year. So they're a flawed team, but they're a team who, again, if you told me that they won the World Series, I would say, all right, that checks out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're going to have to do some of the similar things this year in terms of being right at the right time, because I see even more problems in sort of starting pitcher depth than some of the other teams. I mean, they had really poor luck with Andrew Painter. I think Painter would have changed things because you would have had a real stud in the fifth spot, and then all of your depth would have come behind him. But Painter is not the only injury. They've had a couple injuries in that back end among their fifth, sixth, and seventh starting pitchers. So right now, I think it's Bailey Falter and maybe Michael Plasmeyer, who are the fifth and sixth starting pitchers. And Michael Plasmeyer was left off the wild card series roster, so he's not wasn't necessarily headed towards stardom, but maybe he can be credible, and maybe Falter can be credible. But if they have a long-term injury to Nola or Wheeler, this team looks very different, I think. And then you start saying, whoa, wait a second, who's their starting pitcher tonight? And as much as their bullpen is now full of stuff, my goodness, there's so much stuff in that bullpen. It's just all like 100 miles an hour with great breaking balls. There's no command in that bullpen at all. And so, you've got this team that's think about what I just said about the Nationals in terms of stuff and in terms of hitting the ball hard. The Phillies are like, nah, we're going to bet real hardcore on hitting the ball hard and throwing the ball hard, and all that soft stuff like command and defense. Whatever. So I think someone needs to step forward, like Plasmeyer or Sanchez. They've got I think it's is it Christopher Sanchez or Mick Abel, one of those back end pitchers, Bailey Falter. They have to step up because this team is going to need them. And then the other thing I think that could be a big deal is Alec Baum and Bryson Stott are two young players on that infield that could go either way. They could I don't think they'll necessarily regress, but they could either just kind of do what they did, or there is another level in both of those guys. Baum could hit the ball harder. He could make more out of his raw power. Bryson Stott is sort of learning the game, and we've seen him chase fewer pitches as the season goes on, and he gets more regular playing time. So I think both of those are young players that could help this lineup be even better,
Yeah.
and they're going to have to slug their way to some victories, especially with their 5th and 6th starters on the mound. Do you think they can do it again?
I said I think 3 teams out of this division can do it, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me. That's what makes this division so tough.
All right, but I am now forcing you in the corner. Give me a 1, 2, 3.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, got to do it.
Braves, Mets, Phillies.
Braves, Mets, Phillies.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go Mets, Braves, Phillies.
So we both picked them third anyway.
Yeah, we did.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, hey, Michael Plasmar, Bailey Falter, prove us wrong.